Alrighty, welcome to another stream of Lyrebird Edits, and that's totally fine, OutriderSG. I was a little late this morning in setting up myself, so all good. Good timing all around. Great. I'm gonna move my clothes out of the way. You can still see the last of the coat hanger. Okay, cool. So, what are we gonna do? This will be a short stream because this is only about just under 1,000 words. And at the end, I think I want to talk about something sort of related to writing, but might be a nice sort of demonstration of what editing can achieve. So sit tight for that, and in the meantime, we'll get into Sean's story. You liar, herringbone. Nothing you say anymore has validity. I can't. This is a betrayal too far. I was all ready for a stream without you, and here you are, playing with my heartstrings. I can't deal with this right now. But welcome to the stream. Welcome back. Enjoy your coffee. For as long as it lasts. Alright, well, let's dig in. Why not? Why not? There it is. Always miss it. So, Sean says, I have a few goals for this piece. Firstly, it has to stay below 1k words. So I made some concessions. I'm wondering if you think there are spots to cut in favour of bolstering others. Okay, good thing to ask. Second, the perspective. How first or third person would impact the narrative. And third, the flow of transitions between the memory and the present. Okay, so we've got three things. If anything is bloating, or if anything is underwritten, first or third person, and transitions between past and present. So they're all really good things to look out for. And in such a short space of time, word-wise, this will be really interesting to keep in mind. So all I know about this story is that it's sort of monster hunting. That's all I know. And in actual fact, that's kind of all I should know, I think, because I want these 1,000 words to be fresh without knowing what it's really going to entail. So with that being said, let's dive right in, and we'll read out the first page, maybe? Oh, it's linked to a publisher, cool, good luck. Ian's fingers traversed the stonework like a braille epic. Excuse me, just gonna put that down a bit too loud. Ian's fingers traversed the stonework like a braille epic. The silence of law, imprisoned in tableau. Little more than echoes now, if ever they had existed at all. The truth, they were tapestries woven from tinted smoke and honeyed words, blankets for the feeble. If you believe it, all manner of remarkable creatures have been there doing. I'll put a suggestion on. I think that should be creatures. All manner of remarkable creature had been there doing. That could also work. So you can choose if you want the S there. Abominations, one and all, monsters that Aeon hunted even now, as he prowled deep into the catacombs beneath the pyramid. His torchlight stole precious inches from that blackness, but even this tiny solace offered no respite. Such was Aeon's punishment, self-imposed. From some hidden belly of the tunnels, rancid breath washed over him like windswept sea water at port. Aeon's blood quickened at the smell, and he felt the pull to turn back, as any sane person would, but a newer instinct prevailed. Death would come soon enough, that debt was owed, but until then he would hunt. Reaching behind his waist, Aeon drew a heavy glaive to his side, a polearm of custom design. half as much sword as lance, called sorrow, the blade to cut down many a monstrous thing. But what creature would sorrow meet beneath the pyramid? Ain had prepared as well as he could, coated his glaive with oil of camellia, waxed the string of his short bow, fastened new fletchings to his arrows. Still he knew only the details the ealdorman of Sefer had conveyed, conversation that echoed in his mind. Reckon it's coin you're after, but you'll find none in Sefer. Truly some ill has stricken this fucking mire. Folk bemoan, curses, and the like. Fools. Still here, nomad, was only death in pursuing such a creature. But it's death you seek, so be it. The thing were twice again the size of any man, daggers for fingers, a cat's head, the rack of a stag. Heard its horrible shriek as it bounded for the godstone. And this is correct. No, this is it is. Did I see Psycho here? Yes, here. Hello, Psycho. The alderman motioned west toward the pyramid, silver-tide beneath the setting sun. Ain first thought to stay the evening in Sefer, but some part of him knew better. There are any number of abominations that emerge from the dark corners of the world. Why did this hunt feel familiar? He turned to look upon the alderman. And what of the creature's temperament? Was the grim scene born of hunger or bloodlust? Blood-drunk, feral. Blood-drunk, and had learned through no small amount of suffering that a monster frenzied by blood was a different sort of encounter altogether. Regardless, he would kill the thing, or it would kill him. But he was close now, for the taste of sour meat lingered thick in the air. Before long, he reached the tunnel's end, where the passage opened into a vast chasm, some forgotten shrine underneath the world, where acolytes of the silent had performed their secret ceremonies, poppy-addled swindlers. So I'll stop there and we'll go back to the top. This is good. I think it's really smooth. I think you've done a really good job of dropping in very solid pieces of grounding, and I think that's exactly what you have to do for a short story like this. We haven't got the breadth of time and the luxury of words to paint grand narratives. Everything has to be sort of cutting and concise, and so everything matters. Which is a good place to be in. And I think so far everything does matter. I didn't read anything that stood out to me as being like, oh, I want something else instead of this. But let's go from the start down, and we'll see if we can pick out anything like that on a second read. Keeping in mind that we're after three things at Sean's direction. Whether first or third would work better. If anything is bloated or too thin. And the third one was transition between memory and present. That's right. Usually with transitions from memories to present, you can do it in a number of different ways, but I think this way is probably the best for this story, and it's just back to back. So you don't spend any time being clever about it because you haven't got the luxury of words, of copious amounts of words. You need to do it quickly, and I think this way is really good. I didn't stumble over any transitions. Anyway, let's keep those things in mind as we go through. I think in this case, yeah, let's have a think about the first, third. I think I'm inclined to agree about the third, maybe in this case. Ain's fingers traverse the stonework like a braille epic. Strictly speaking, this sentence means that the way in which he traverses is like a braille epic, rather than the stonework. I think what you mean is the stonework is like a Braille epic. But the way the sentence is constructed, this becomes the Braille epic, which doesn't strictly make sense, but I know what you mean. So you could replace it with something like Evan's fingers traverse the stonework, comma, this Braille epic. Hey, good news, you also lose a word. Something like that might work a bit better because... Or you could put a Braille epic with an M dash in there. But you've got quite a few M dashes, so I've noticed that a lot of your sentences have M dash structure. I love M dash structure. I think it's a really nice way to squeeze in information. We just have to be careful about... There we go, now I can hear. We just have to be careful about how often it's repeated. Yeah, I think like reading a Braille epic, that's the impression that you were going for, right? The temptation to M dash. You could do this Braille epic. I think I like this Braille epic because it makes it seem a bit more immediate. Your call though. Have a think about how you want to open. The silent of law, imprisoned in tableau, little more than echoes now, if they had existed at all. The silent of law, imprisoned in tableau, little more than echoes now, if ever they had existed at all. The truth, they were tapestries woven from tinted smoke and honeyed words, blankets for the feeble. If you believe it, all manner of remarkable creatures had been their doing. I understand this paragraph a lot better now that I'm reading it a second time. The turns of phrases click together a bit neater, and form a total narrative. I didn't pick up on lots of things the first time, like the silent of law refers to a group of people. What if... I'm gonna try something. Feel free to disregard this. Okay, why did I suggest this? This is a bit of a chunky kind of reconfiguration. Let me go back and read, hang on. The method I chose here was that Aim will remember it as the scene is unfolding, sort of like it was played in his head the whole time. Oh yeah, okay, yep. Hmm. Hmm. Cool. Let's have a think about the silent of law. Oh, legacy. Nice. I was wondering what you were going for there. Yeah, cool, cool. I'll explain this change in a second. Let's do the silent of law. Aaron's fingers traverse the stonework like a braille epic. Oh, Aaron's fingers traverse the stonework. This braille epic. The silent of law. I'm not sure if my suggestion was good. Hang on, there were tapestries rubbing from tin smoke and only when swinging to the fever. Aaron's fingers traverse the stonework, this epic braille. We can change that. The sound of law imprisoned in tableau. Little more than echoes now, if ever they had existed at all. If you believe the stone, all manner of remarkable creatures have been there doing abominations one and all. The truth? There were tapestries woven from... See, now we've confused the epic braille work versus the monsters. So... what if we got rid of law? The silent... I don't know if I've just butchered this majorly. Um... Hmm. Right, that's the impression that we've now given, so my fault there. Let's see if we can fix that up too. If we leave the stone, um, and then it contradicts itself again, yeah, but legacy remains. This may give the impression that these monsters exist, but we don't know if it's their doing. Hmm. Right, which we would be mistaken to believe. Where's this herringbone? If you wanted to lean into this idea, maybe we can play with this. Silent, their story imprisoned in tableau, little more than echoes now, if ever they existed at all. This for me gives a solid impression of that these are people, which is why part of the reason why I chopped and changed this so much was because I didn't get a really strong impression of who the silent were, or whether it was a cavern or a place or a thing or a people. Later on, it becomes evident that they're people, but I only, upon rereading it, really clicked in with what this paragraph meant. I think for the first opening paragraph of a story, it's probably a bit better to bash detail out. I know some writers love to be a bit more clandestine with their ideas and concepts to make it more fluid. So if you prefer to do that, then you can change it back if you like. But here's what it reads like now. Silent, their story imprisoned in tableau, little more than echoes. Now, whether they had existed at all. If you believe the stone, all manner of remarkable creatures had been their doing, so we get an impression that they're people and that they've made creatures. Abominations, one and all. The truth, a tapestry woven of tinted smoke and honeyed words, some true, some not. Blankets for the feeble. So this establishes a mythology, I guess. Yet their legacy remains. monsters, which Aeon hunted even now as he prowled deep into the catacombs beneath the pyramid. His torchlight stole precious inches from their blackness, but even this tiny solace offered no respite. Such was Aeon's punishment, self-imposed. This is really good. I like how it very very quickly crashes into the present from spinning the story. It goes boop, straight down into the actual motion of the narrative, and I think this is a really great way to end the opener. So feel free to ignore anything I've suggested here because this is tricky. Um, hmm. Some mystery surrounding, but I'm not married to keeping. Let's think about this then. Hey PPA, welcome to the stream. Nay. Click, 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 click. No, I'm partial to a good meme. Who isn't? Sounds like the creation of the monsters by the silent, a question by the narrator, which creates a question that I don't think is answered here. That's a good point. Yeah. Okay. Yet their legacy remains implies that they implies that there's a direct lineage that the narrator believes in. So if we can get rid of this. Let's and that removes the lack of doubt. It reintroduces it. In the end, their origins matter not. Monsters plague the land. Monsters that Aeon hunted even now plague the land. What do you reckon of this? Do you think it's better or a bit more incongruous than the original? Let me know. Good. Glad you like it. I was worried there because you'd had something very good set up originally, and I was hoping that in my rearrangement I wasn't going to butcher it. Just starting, Pumpkin Pie Addict. You joined us at a good spot. That sets up a good narrator's question, but in a thousand. That's a really good suggestion. Yeah. I'd actually very strongly suggest outright that you follow this, um, to make it focus down on the monster that's being hunted. That makes it a very strong idea. Um, yeah. Copy. Put comment here. That would make this really good. Yep. Okay, let's move on. I think we've tinkered with this enough. Yeah, because then that would make a really smooth transition from, hey, the Silent they probably made these monsters, maybe not, and now Evan Aeon's hunting monsters in general sounds a bit weak, doesn't it? But if you're hunting a specific monster, that really tightens it up and makes it very strong. Um, yeah, exactly. And you can still hint at the greater lore. Hmm. Epic. I like a Braille epic though. I think it fits the tone of the opener. I might not have the same revulsion um to the word, but I think it fits in this case. Mm. I think this epic here is used more in the sense of like grand ancient tome rather than the modern, yeah, this is good kind of um adjective. This is used in its sort of original sense. Fades in ether. Oh, you're off. Okay. Thanks for the suggestion, Herringbone. That was a really good point you raised here. We'll catch you soon. Good luck studying for exams. Yeah, epic in the literary sense. Yep. Oh, that's an epic part of a story, but I think Outrider's talking more about the grand length epic. Hmm. Yep. From some hidden belly of the tunnels, rancid breath washed over him. Yeah, that's fine. Like windswept seawater at port. Evan's blood quickened at its smell, and he felt the pull to turn back as any sane person would, but a newer instinct prevailed. This is really good. I love this. This is one of those things that I was talking about. Those small drops that ground um, in a very short space of time, a very solid idea. That he's homesick and that he lives near a port, and that it drives his motive forward with this sort of like he wants to go back but he can't. And in one sentence, that's a really condensed, really nice thing you've got going there. Death would come soon enough. That debt was owed, but until then, he would hunt. Reaching behind his waist, Andrew a heavy glaive to his side, a pole arm of custom design, half as much sword as lance. Cold sorrow the blade to cut down many a monstrous thing. I think these run on a little bit, but I think it's permissible. That debt was owed, but until then he would hunt. Maybe that's the weakest part, because it's a bit vague. But you can throw it out there and call it back later and see how it comes down. Mm. Yep, cool. Mm-hmm. I really like Blood Quickened too. It's a great visceral description. Where did you steal that from? No, this is Sean's story. I wasn't creative enough. Burn. Ouch. But yeah, I think out of all of Sean's stories that I've seen, this is different. It's different again. It's got an eloquence and the flow that the others might not have so much of. And that might be just because of the nature of its short 1,000 word limit. You have to be a bit more fluid in the descriptions. And I think Sean's done a really good job of making it all very nicely fitting together. I think his first two paragraphs are good. This sort of pushes the story forward a little bit. There's this great sentence here, and what comes after it just sort of plods along. But what creature would sorrow meet beneath the pyramid? Aina prepared as well as he could, coated his glaive with oil of camellia, waxed the string of his shortbow, fastened new fletchings to his arrows. Still, he knew only the details the elderman of Setha had conveyed. A conversation that echoed in his mind. Ricketts corner after, but you'll find none in Setha. You could do. You could make that a tiny bit longer, to make the transition between present and past a little more solid. A conversation may echo in his mind, reckon its corner after. The only reason I'm suggesting this is because this is quite long. If it's a single sentence, totally fine. But because the sentences just keep going, it's probably good to give a little more forewarning in this part here. Just, I don't know, throw something in. Reckon its corner after, but you'll find none in Zephyr. Can I put that? Folk women curses and the like, fools. Still here, Nomad? There's only death in pursuing such a creature. But it's death you seek. I'm gonna put that. Good. Now, this refers back to here and answers a bit of a question. We still don't know why, but it's reinforced. So be it. The thing were twice the size of a many man. Yep, daggers for fingers, a cat's head, the rack of a stag. Heard its horrible shriek as it bounded for the godstone. I like PPA suggestion. The dead demanded it. That's good. And then full stop. Until then, he would hunt. Make it a bit sort of snappier. So you can do PPA's suggestion, which was if committed demanded it. Have a think about how you'd like to work with this. It is the weakest part of this small paragraph here. So have a think. The element motioned west towards the pyramid, a silver titan beneath the setting sun. N thought first to stay the evening in Zephyr, but some part of him knew better. The other thing that I'd suggest doing, if you want this to be really grounded, here, ground the scene a tiny bit more, so that these next, and also to make sure that the first sentence of the next paragraph, has a body. Like, if they're in some sort of... my impression of this scene is that they're in some sort of tavern, but there's nothing in this to convey that sense. And so I'm having to work in overdrive here with my imagination to be like, okay, they're probably in a tavern, he's probably motioning out a window. But it doesn't feel like you've dripped that in. It feels like I'm having to fill in something that you haven't written. As a reader, that's my perspective. So if you meet them halfway and describe this as like the dusty smoke of the tavern washed around them, blah blah blah, and his face kind of appears from the darkness. You put the word tavern in there, and I'm there. I can imagine in motioning out towards the pyramid outside the window. We just need the word tavern somewhere. Oh, it's a hut, right? Okay. Yeah, so stick that in here. Just something that can give me a grounding place. But some part of him knew better. There are any number of abominations that emerge from the dark corners. From a dark in this. Now, why am I suggesting that? The dark corners of the world is a bit more abstract. Emerge from the dark in this corner of the world sounds a bit more place specific, and that may be a bit stronger. Why did this hunt feel familiar? You turn to look upon the Elderman. What are the creature's temperament? Was the grim scene born of hunger or bloodlust? Blood-drunk, feral, blood-drunk, and had learned through no small amount of suffering that a monster frenzied. Have you got a scar he could subconsciously touch? cut that. I don't know what I'm doing there. Ain had learned through no small amount of suffering is declarative, but if you can make it physical, that'd be really nice, like a scar across his face or a missing ear, something that could demonstrate this. That a monster frenzied by blood was a different sort of encounter altogether. Make it physical. Does it play well his internal question feeding into the question he poses the alderman? Yeah, I like that. I think that's a good thing to do. That's my dog. Yes, I am streaming. Welcome, DC Not Important. Welcome, welcome. TTLACC. Yes. I've got a dog here. Ugh. Yes, I am. I'm very K. I am just... What are we doing right now? What are you doing? Yeah, she's having a sniff around. She might find a comfortable spot on the bed. Where was I? What was I saying? Oh yeah, Sean was asking whether or not the internal question bleeds into the external question. So, why did the son feel familiar? He turned to look upon the alderman, and what of the creature's temperament? Was the grim scene born of hunger or bloodlust? Blood drunk, feral, blood drunk. Ah, I get what you're going for. Okay. Familiar is probably the word here that's tripping me up a little bit. Familiar has a sort of glow to it, like it's a good sort of comforting. Like when I first read this, and when I read this a second time, it kind of gave me like a an impression that it was comfortable with it. Why did this hunt feel? Maybe you want to use the word dread instead of familiar. Like this. I don't know if you want to keep that. Feel familiar always makes me feel comfortable. I don't know if it's just my impression or not. Why did this hunt drip so with dread? He turned to look upon the alderman, and what of the creature's temperament? This may be pushing forward the idea that you were trying to go for. Nice. Oh, so you were giving suggestions. Hang on. So PPA says that's why I would move the internal question to the top. Oh, it's an interesting idea. Yeah. It's not a bad idea at all. Consider moving this to the top of the paragraph. That might be good. I'm assuming there's some more negative connotations. Unease, maybe, drip, yep. Let's go for a pet dispenser approach. Nice. That's your second contribution in PPA. You had another one before. If would come, the debt demanded it. I'm out. You're done. Done and dusted. Moving on top interrupts the flow of the audience movement. That's true, it does, but it sets the paragraph nicely. Have a think about whether or not you want to do it. There are pros and cons moving it all around. It is 9:52 AM my time. DC Not Important saying, streaming at this insane time. Every time is insane when you're dealing with Australia. Because we're so far away from everything. You can even shorten that to just STRLA. There you go. Get rid of those. Get rid of all of those vowels, except the last one. Australia. Aina learned through no small amount of suffering that a monster frenzy by blood was a different sort of encounter altogether. So I'd suggest putting a physical description there instead. Regardless, he would kill the thing, or it would kill him. And he was close now. I sort of feel like there's this unsaid thing at the end of this sentence here. And either outcome would be acceptable. Now, I don't know if that's the impression that you're giving, and I'm putting it in square brackets here. But you've dripped through this idea that death would come, there's a debt, you're sort of seeking death. Follow it up here maybe a little bit more. He was close enough that the taste of sour meat lingered thick in the air. Before long, he reached the tunnel's end, or tunnel's end. I put the, where the passage opened into a vast chasm, some forgotten shrine underneath the world where acolytes of the silent had performed their secret ceremonies, poppy-addled swindlers. I imagine that there's like beams of light coming down from some sort of like grotto-esque underground foresty kind of place. So, and that's all off the back of this. So even if you haven't made mention of it specifically, I think that you don't even need to. Keeping in mind that we want to keep this below 1,000 words, I think that's a perfect dropped description. Let's read some more, because that's where I got up to last time, in a big block reading. There we go, very nice. And he was close enough as number transition out of the memory. Regardless, he would kill the thing, or it would kill him, and he was close now. Um, I like it. I like how abrupt it is. I think because we're so very limited in how many words we can play with, I don't mind the fact that it is so abrupt. If you wanted to make it a bit more scene breaky, you could even break it off into a new paragraph. Have a think about it. I quite like that abrupt transition. I think it works well. That's just my taste, though. I'm not sure that he would kill it. Spanish. Yeah, it's 1K words. less letters. DC important. We need less letters. Um, yeah, and that's I think part of the reason why I'm okay with that hard transition. You can do clever things with paragraph structures for this, but I mean, you don't need to be fancy about it. This does feel a little cliche, sure, but I don't think that's bad. I think sometimes it's good to have really clear markers in your story, and cliche can often be a really good thing. A lot of people try and avoid cliche, but what they end up doing instead is making it opaque and not very clear. Let's read on. Anne stood amid the creature's nest. Midst? Amid versus amidst. They're interchangeable. Okay. Pick one and enjoy. Amid or amidst. Anne stood amid the creature's nest. Moonlight poured from the ceiling onto a platform suspended by massive chains at the room's center. Cool, that's kind of what I had in my head originally, which was nice. Where a towering likeness of Jasra stood. Goddess of balance, justice, and the duality of things, all the more proof of absentee deities. I really like this, that's good. An ancient bridge spanned the chasm. As Aeon crossed, the crunch of 1,000 dead things underfoot sent icy daggers up his spine, but moments later he reached to the heart of the place. Should we split this into new paragraphs? Josa, if you're struggling. Okay, cool. Mm. It's good. Yeah, I think these are really nice. I'm tripped up on the structure. Look, let me read it through until the end, and then we'll go back and edit. Somewhere in the nothing below, the monster lurked. That's really good. Um, Anne could feel the ebb as a spider senses its victim on the silk. Only he was the fly in this web. Anne could. Hmm, that's really interesting. I don't know. It made me smile for some reason. Anne could feel the ebb as a spider senses its victim on the silk. Only he was the fly in this web. Still, he loitered, studying the face of Jersa, so far for eyes, so familiar. Anne's guilt made manifest. Clear as day, he remembered the evening of his first monster hunt. That was the night Anne had become a murderer. He chanced upon his victim, found himself stalking him to some dark corner of town. It was so sudden, Anne's fingers digging into the man's throat. Try as he might, he could not will himself to stop. And why should he? It was justice, right? Monster that immolated Anne's wife and daughter, claiming some agent born of drunken stupor. It wasn't until the light had drained from the man's eyes, as sapphire eyes, that he let up. For the longest time, Anne lingered, just glaring at this thing that had broken him. Well, at last he peeled his eyes away. Oh, sorry, when at last he peeled his eyes away, he noticed a boy staring at him from across the yard, the same eyes the man's son. But before Anne's sorrow would cement, a feral shriek cracked the air like a whip. Startled, Anne peered west, toward the other side of town. He turned back. His victim's boy had disappeared. Another whip-sharp shriek filled the air. Another. So terrible was the sound that Anne forgot briefly his deed, took off after its source. That was the night Anne had become a monster hunter. Now that he recognized, or was he a monster hunter all along? Um, Actually, that's quite clever. I don't mean to be sardonic. That's a nice sort of split between he hunts monsters, but is the monster man or is the monster monsters? It's both. It was now that he recognized his prey. Source of the awful shriek that night, the beast of Sefer, one and the same. The warm stink of its breath enveloped Ain from behind. He felt the platform shift just a bit, enough to rattle the chains that held it aloft. Swift as the wind, the beast lunged, and stepped left, pivoted into a whirl, and in the same movement swung sorrow upward with all the strength that he could summon. It broke dawn, crisp and vibrant, by the time Ain returned to the Alderman's hovel. He knocked. The old man threw open his door with half-cocked surprise. You live, heeded my warnings after all, eh, nomad? No, and staggered to his house, unfastened a blood-slicked sack from his saddle and tossed it at the Alderman's feet. The elder towed it open to reveal the head of a duskham, rack and all. He waited for the old man to speak, but received only his indifferent glare. It was midday when Aeon quit Sefer. There had been talk of the village in the south, which had been plagued by some... So there had been talk of a village in the south which had been plagued by some ailment of the blood. He had a suspect in mind. Hmm. Okay, cool. So let's deal with this on here from the end. I like it. I like the culmination of the action ending in through the action scene was a single action. Um, I like the backstory. I think it's well placed. I wonder about the ending though. Let's have a think about this. Um, Let me go back and read. Sorry. Chill of winter crawled up his spine. That's good. Four letters. Congrats. DC not important. I think FSTR is perfect. You can't fix perfection. Hmm. Maybe we are the monster hunters all along, hunting swamp creatures, green swamp creatures. The death aspect of the story may be a bit untouched at the end. Um, the death, death or debt aspect of the story sort of falls to the wayside at the end. So maybe consider because I can think to myself why the death or debt imagery is so prevalent at the start. It's because he's got this guilt, and he sort of has maybe like a nihilistic approach to justice and retribution. I think that needs to be maybe solidified a little bit. Oh, well, actually, you don't need to really. But maybe in the last part you can hint at it. Maybe that's what was missing. Right, right. To the motive. Your Irving Shyster? He feels good for the mood. Yep, and at the same note. Yeah. Okay, good. That was the impression that I was getting. I think you can extend on it just a little bit towards the end. Hmm. Huh. Let's go back and start here. Anne stood amid Anne stood amid the creature's nest. Moonlight poured from the ceiling onto a platform suspended by message hands. Center of a turret. But God's bound. Blah, blah, blah. Yep, this is perfect. This is really good. An ancient bridge spanned the chasm. Day and cross. The crunch of 1,000 dead things underfoot said, "I see daggers up his spine." But once that he reached the place. You could get rid of this paragraph break, but you could just as easily separate it out. It looks a bit ugly with three short paragraphs. Usually I wouldn't recommend doing this, but they're good paragraphs. As tiny as they are, I think they work well. Pumpkin Pie Addict is beyond help, I'm afraid. How far are we? Pumpkin Pie Addict, how far are you into Cowboy Bebop now? Last episode I watched was the mushroom episode, where they all get high off mushrooms. So I'm pretty close to the end. I think, right? That's close to the end. I really need to finish watching Bebop. Mushroom Samba, that's the one. Yeah, it was a really good, really fun episode. Um, it's been such an unusual watch, Cowboy Bebop. I've watched it so slowly and over such a long period of time. It's fantastic, but it's also very unusual. I don't know, weird. I'm enjoying it a lot. Um, yes, as far as Bebop is into weird shit, more or less. But I am really liking it. It's I don't love episodic things. I prefer to have like a continuous story. But I think for what Bebop is, it's interesting, and I think it's very fleshed out, and it's feels like you're diving into a very complete world. And the stories are good too. Okay, right. I didn't expect it to. Because anime has a history of not doing that. Anime's just always got this sort of weird history of stumbling into its endings. But I'd like to see where it ends. Hmm. Way ahead of you, DC. Not important. Way ahead of you. Neon Genesis is it's so good. I love it. But yeah, it's a very um janky kind of storytelling, especially the ends. Um, but it's wonderful. I love Evangelion. Oh, that's interesting. Okay. I definitely recommend Evangelion. Hmm. Okay, I'm gonna focus back here. Anne could feel the ebb as a spider senses its victim on the silk. Only he was the fly in this web. There's a certain corniness to this that I really like. Like it made me smile when I first read it because it was kind of like it does come across as a bit corny, but it's so fitting that you read it and you're like, okay. And so you know what's coming. I'd say keep it in. I think it's good. Um, it's kind of like what I was saying before about cliches. Like people are so afraid to use cliche, but there's nothing wrong with it if you do it well. And not to say that this is overblown or tawdry or anything. I think it's fitting. Good. Almost. I'm gonna push through to the end here. Make some suggestions. Congratulations. Hmm. Okay. Still he loitered, studying the face of just Sapphire's fire, so familiar. Gotta rid the aim dashes here, I think. And then make it a run on. That might work better. Clear as day, he remembered the evening of his first monster hunt. That was no name. I think the transitions here are good. It was excuse me. When at last he peeled his eyes away, he noticed a boy staring at him from across the eye, the same eyes as the man's son. I think could cement. Oh, would cement, could cement. A feral Shrek cracked the air. Whip startled air and peered west to one of the other side. It was now that he recognized his prey. If you stick this in here, it solidifies the fact that it's happening twice. So it was now that he recognized his prey. The source of the awful shriek by night and the beast of Seth are one and the same as the cry echoed around the cavern. That solidifies that it's happening in the present past. The warm stink of its breath enveloped Aeon from behind. Now, something here that you may not have picked up on. Somewhere but nothing below the monster lurked. So the key here is that we've got the word below. We're going to highlight in yellow. And then behind. So in my head, the transition from below to behind is a bit incongruous. Like I imagine he's on sort of like an island in the middle of this cavern, and then somewhere in the darkness around and below him, the monster lurks, and so he slips into the memory, slips back into the present. The cry is echoing. He turns around and the monster's there. So maybe have a little think about transitioning the monster. Have a think about how the monster goes from below to behind. You can describe it scampering up the rock or something and jumping onto the platform. You don't need to do anything fancy, but like, you need to have a transition, because otherwise it just pops into existence, and I don't think that works very well. I think you can make it stronger. It's a tiny, tiny change. Yeah. Do I feel the power of positivity? I'm not sure what this is referring to. Or what you're talking about with... What are you guys talking about with Drake? I'm so lost. The prey was the demons inside. Ooh. Yeah, cool. You hit the platform shift just a bit, enough to rattle the chains that held aloft. Swift as when the beast lunged and stepped left pivoted into a whirl, and the same movement swung so open he could summon. It broke dawn, crisp and vibrant by the time Aim returned to the Elderman's hovel. It's a bit of a funny way to transition out, because it's a bit clunky with It Broke Dawn. I like the fact that we have a hard cut from a very climactic action scene, and then the next thing is just it's dawn. Totally fine for a very short story. I think it's actually preferable. The transition out from memory into present feels really good here as well. Compliments there. It's really nice. I think it's because you've broken it up into a paragraph transition, like a one sentence paragraph transition. Present. Really nice. You could do the same thing again here if you wanted with a very tiny paragraph, but it broke dawn, crisp and vibrant by the time and the Elderman's hovel. Dawn broke is probably the best way to deal with it. Ain staggered to his horse, unfastened the blood-slicked sack from his saddle and tossed it at the other seat. Otto towed it open to reveal it over Rascanol, right? Or Racanol. He would speak, but received only indifferent. I think you can end this last sentence here with an implication that he's still trying to find retribution through death. So, just add a... to solidify SLID, SOLID. Just like a tiny little bit. So for instance, you could have... he had a suspect in mind. Maybe then he could find his true justice, vengeance, whatever. Like, it just has to be like a little add-on like that. Good. Yeah, I really like this story. I think it's set out to achieve... so it achieved exactly what it set out to achieve, which was like a unified presence inside a story with a motive and a drive and some monsters. It's good, and it's written well too. The three things we were thinking about. Transitions between past and present were good. I think you've handled that really nicely given the length of the story. Its abrupt nature is consistent, which is good. And I think it's really smooth too. First person versus third. Third works fine here. I think if it was first, you'd have a harder time containing his emotion and it would be a bit more soupy. Whereas I think third person may offer a bit of a crispness that is going to benefit the 1,000 word limit. Are there any parts that bloat? Any parts that need extra information? I never felt like I was underfed information or overfed information, with the exception of the fact that I have no idea where he is here. I thought they were in a tavern, so you can fix that really easily by adding something here. That's fine. And the only other place I suggest thinking is maybe just reintroducing the death theme at the end, the retribution theme at the end. Ooh, that's good. Yeah. The warm light of dawn enveloped AM by the time you return to the Elderman's hut. That's actually a lot better. It cuts the scene a lot neater. Ooh. Wow. Well, that's highlighted black and green. Enjoy. Yes. That's good. Sorry about the formatting. Good. Okay, I think we're done. Hmm. My pleasure. Thank you for showing the story. It was a real pleasure to work through. And it's well written too. Like, um, it's good to work with a story like this where it's at a level where it, the attention to detail you've paid has been really high, so I don't have to worry so much about the line by line stuff. Maybe with the exception of the start, but that was for a different reason. I was only able to do that because the base of it was really well written. I like these kind of edits where we can sink our teeth into the meat of the story, shuffle things around, and yeah, they're the edits I like to do. Hmm. Good, good. New Day. We have a rapper called All Day. My indirect shade to PPA, unlike other people who submit their stories to me, where they have to edit all these other different things. This story is far superior. Dear. No, it's not true. I enjoy all types of editing. They're just different types of edits, that's for sure. Hmm. Yeah, you should PPA. When is it? It's 18th. It's a library. I don't know what you're talking about. TC not important. No, there's no backlog. It is we are free. Um, I did want to float the idea of putting a slight hold on streaming until perhaps even the new year from this point onwards. I'll think about this. Um, Part of the reason why I think I want to just go on a small hiatus, two reasons. Um, I'm doing a PhD and I need to focus. But the second reason is that I've also got my own things that I want to work on. And doing both of those, the PhD and my own things in tandem, tends to help me focus on both. I work better on my work if I'm focusing on my writing, the fiction writing. So I can sort of bleed both of them together. And I've been using streams as sort of like an excuse to myself to not write. So I'd plot out the course of my days and I'd be like, oh, I don't really want to write tonight. I want to do other things because I'm streaming tomorrow or I'm streaming on Sunday. So I think I want to take this short time to give myself a break from editing. Maybe. I still haven't committed to this fully. I'll let you guys know over Discord. But it'd only be for a short while I get into the swing of writing the thesis, writing my own stuff, and then I can just plot back in with a few edits. I think that's kind of what I'd like to do. But let me get back to you on that. I haven't fully committed to that idea. It's just a brain fart right now. Hmm. it's it's not you, it's me. I feel like we should see other people, guys. Definitely on a good note. I'd agree with TTLACC. Yeah, this has been a really good one. Get the table set up so you can throw them over. But yeah, it'd only be like a month max or something, so I can month it a little bit. But I'll let you guys know on via Discord, and we can come to a solution then. Or I can even drop down to one a week. We can keep the Sunday streams going. That might be nice. Because oh, actually, maybe we can do that. Launching my fashion line. Scarves, beanies, and socks. That's all you need. You don't need anything else on your body. You just need scarves, beanies, and socks. And a sharp razor. Say, one that you could get in a box from a monthly subscription. For $4.99 that you spend every month, you can get a sharp razor delivered fresh to your door. I'm talking, of course, about Squarespace. It's a site where you can set up your own website. Don't forget about audiobooks too. Audible. I found time to read ever since I found Audible. Hmm. I will. I'll use the at everyone thing. Casino carpet chic. Oh, don't tempt me. Don't tempt me. Alright, guys. Thanks for joining. We'll catch you when we catch you. I'll let you know via Discord when the next stream will be. Let's do one a week. I think we can still do that. Yeah. Read. Exactly, yeah. Oh, yes. Good call. Detective Pikachu. With, Ryan Reynolds. Alright, catch you guys later.